Hi Zulily fans, I'm Angela Chilberg. I'm a Zulily resident baker here, and I'm going to show you today how to do a Easter cupcake decoration. So we're going to be doing this fun blue Easter cupcake using your favorite Easter egg candies. So you can use any brand you want, any brand that you have access to. Maybe someone gifted you with something. That's what we're going to make today. So as you can see, we're going to be doing some blue food coloring. And what I like to do is actually start off with just any basic frosting. The great thing about this technique is you could do it with any flavor of cupcake, any flavor of frosting, as long as it has a white color base. And you can really make it your own if you want to. So to start, I've already made these pre-made cupcakes. They're just a white vanilla cake. They're really delicious. And what I'll be doing is starting off by dyeing the frosting to go on top of it. So with frosting, I like to make sure to only drop one at a time because it may not look like much, but frosting can go a really, really long way. So as you're stirring it, you can kind of see it starts to marble. And something fun that you can do is actually leave it this way when you pipe it, and then it has that kind of marbled look to it. But today I really want to go for a really nice robin's egg blue, like really pastel color, almost the same color as my piping bag actually. So as you can see, just that one drop is really saturating the color, which is perfect because we want it to give that really fun Easter feel. The other thing that I like to remember when I'm mixing my food coloring is that when you use food coloring to dye things like frosting or sugar, it actually gets darker and more saturated in color the longer that it sits out. So if you were to make this buttercream a day in advance and dye it, you would actually notice that by the second day, the blue would be a lot more rich and saturated in color. So as you can see, we've got our blue frosting. So that's already piped into this bag here. I'm going to put that off to the side. And now, before we get started, I'm actually going to dye the coconut too. So to give this fun grassy texture, to make it look like your eggs are sitting in a little nest, I actually like to use sweetened shaved coconut because it gives a little bit of fun flavor to the thing you're working with. And it's also an edible way to make grass, which is a fun trick that I like to do, and not everyone knows about it. So once again, I only use one drop to start. You can always add more. It's more important to add than it is to subtract because subtracting isn't exactly possible. The coconut is a little bit more difficult to dye because it wants to cling to some of those bigger pieces. So what I do is I take a spatula and I really press down on the edges, and you can see some of the flakes are picking up more of the color than others. The more you work this, the more evenly toned it'll all be. And then in the end, if you still have a couple of those really dark painted flakes, you can always take those out or leave them in because guess what? Grass isn't perfect. So we've got our dyed coconut and our dyed buttercream. So what I'm going to do now is take one of our pre-made cupcakes with our fun little liner, and I'm going to do a quick piping tutorial to show you that you don't need to pipe it perfectly. I like to use a base that has a little bit of those jagged edges because what it'll do is it'll just give it a little bit of texture when you're adding it to the top of the cupcake. But the best thing about this method is that you don't actually have to make it perfect because you're going to be adding the coconut to the top. So as you can see, sometimes there's air bubbles, sometimes there's things that happen. I'm just going to go ahead and pipe all the way around these. And then you want to make sure that you don't pipe the frosting too far before you add the coconut because the frosting will harden and it'll make it harder to add the coconut on top. So see there, not perfect, just fun little decorations. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this one. It's a little bit messy, but that's okay. It's what baking is all about. You add the coconut right to the top and see, it's already looking like a little bit of a nest. And then to go for that monochrome finish, I'm going to add some of these fun blue Easter eggs. And this is really fun to do with the kiddos. because it's candy and everyone loves candy at Easter, and chances are something you've already added into your basket is probably some Easter candies. So check that out. We've got our little Easter egg, and it's really messy, and that's okay. You can flake off all of the extra coconut, and then you just let them sit to dry and harden just a little bit so that the eggs don't roll off when you're ready to gift them. I like to make sure you don't stack them, but like who would ever stack a cupcake? That's fine. And here they are, ready to give to your friends or enjoy or give to your kids or just smush in someone's face. Happy Easter, everyone.